Can you kind of think about the kind of main problem you think there is, and how can we boost the number of medical graduates who are choosing general practice?
For a long time, general practice hasn't been promoted in the same way as some other specialties are perhaps shown in a positive light. I think on top of that, general practice hasn't had its problems to seek in terms of funding, in terms of workload, and I think that the people that are coming through medical school form various opinions fairly early about what interests them, about how they see their future, and I think perhaps we don't do enough to challenge some of those perceptions, and again sort of make people sort of stretch to what they can be.
So I helped set up a GP society at Liverpool University, and one of the first things they did was do some research into what affects students' career choices and what medical students think about general practice. Lots of students said that their own personal inward perception of general practice was very positive, but that they heard relentless negative comments from particularly secondary care clinicians. I mean, one quote I think was actually that the students were afraid and ashamed to admit they wanted to be a GP.
But what we've heard consistently is negativity. So, I bet every single one of us can remember being told, I certainly can remember being told at medical school, why am I giving up being a doctor to be a GP? I was too clever to be a GP.
The comments from, and they can be throwaway remarks from hospital colleagues, oh, are you only going to be a GP? All really denigrating, and it's a shame because when they come into our practices as students, a lot of them are really enthusiastic and they like it and they have a great time. You can tell the ones who clearly think it's all pointless and are going to go into their labs and do PhDs. And that's fine, some people are destined for that. But it is a shame that with all these dynamic, fantastically energetic students, that they are being put off general practice. But
it is denigration from media, denigration from secondary care, but actually there's also a lot of negative feedback from GPs themselves. Yes. That can make an immense difference, as it did for me actually. I never thought that I always, when you're a young doctor, you always fancy yourself as doing all the acute medicine. You fancy yourself as being on the acute shop floor, but actually I had such a fantastic experience as a medical student in both my GP practices that I actually really thought this could be something that I could do.
We've got students, trainees, everybody around the table, but we're also visiting the medical schools. And what we've heard is that they've heard the bashing of us for years, but they used to get exposure to GPs who said, it's fantastic. But now, we're not feeling like that as GPs at the moment. On certain websites and in the medical press, and all of it's true. We mustn't criticise ourselves or our colleagues for saying how bad it is, because it is, but they say, you no longer tell us it's a good job. You no longer tell us that you want to do it. And I now use the phrase, I love being a GP, I just don't like general practice as it is at the moment.
Isn't it beholden on medical schools to get that across? Surely that's their job.
I think it's beholden on medical schools, I think it's beholden on all of us. I think that the campaigns to get more resource and to address the issues are vital, and we've been talking with the RCGP about let's put an information pack out there on what the legal issues are, what the confidentiality issues, how to do it. But if, for example, a federation, a super practice or a CCG were to coordinate it, each practice might get 1 or 2 a year. But at the moment, I've sat on medical school interviewing panels and I always say, have you visited a practice? I tried.
I think that we can't really authentically promote general practice as a career when students come into GP surgeries and they see people at breaking point and people going off sick with stress. So I think we do need to make the profession more attractive. And interestingly, because I was going to say this is a bit of a tangential point, but as a trainee at the moment, I mean, when I do look at my cohort of GP trainees at VTS teaching, lots of people enjoy the seeing patients, they enjoy consulting with patients, but an awful lot of trainees don't enjoy the peripheral elements, the sort of the management, the, I suppose, resource allocation. And actually, out of my VTS group of 20, I'm the only one who's even talked about looking for a partnership, for example. People are increasingly looking to either locum or perhaps take a salaried post. So I worry that, the pressures on general practice, they're not just putting people off coming into general practice, but they're actually shaping the direction that the general practice workforce is going to go into. And actually, if we don't get new partners, I mean, partnership's going to fail.